everyone. Today we have our another new episode, and we will discuss on the quest for immorality and AI and human longevity. We have our world famous speakers, Mr. Anthony, Madam Ali Rice, Mr. Rob Enderley, and Mr. David Smith. Anthony, my first question for you: how can artificial intelligence accelerate breakthrough in aging, research, and life extension technologies?
Okay, well, I'm going to commence from a very profound philosophical perspective and then execute the question accordingly. Okay, since the dawn of man, our greatest dread has always been the knowledge of our mortality. Since the dawn of man, our greatest dread has always been the knowledge of our mortality. The law of decay, the second law of thermodynamics, entropy, says that all life in this universe will cease. This includes death of the entire universe itself, the cosmos, and so forth. The universe is unavoidably proceeding towards cosmic death. This is due to increasing disorder and dissipation of heat. This is the fundamental law that affects virtually everything that happens within our universe and so forth. Okay? Thus, the second law of thermodynamics guarantees that physical beings cannot live forever. It is the immutable metaphysical law of the universe. It is the immutable metaphysical law of the universe. Okay? All things are subject to decay, deterioration, living or not, biological, mechanical, and finally are destroyed. So now, with regard to your question, so the quest for immortality has always been a driving force behind human innovation. So now we're going in towards artificial intelligence. And AI is the latest tool in this, in quotes, ancient endeavor. So AI has emerged as a powerful tool in the quest, offering unprecedented capabilities in analyzing biological systems at an incredible level and accelerating drug discovery. So drug discovery and the pharmaceutical industry as a result of AI is ever evolving and so on. Okay, so can we conquer death? Can machines help us live forever? Well, this obviously brings me to digital immortality, something that's spoken about a lot within transhumanism and so forth. So digital immortality, mind uploading, where human consciousness is transferred into a digital substrate. This is something that's very discussed at an extensive level within transhumanism and so forth. And basically algebraic topology, which is a new mathematics, actually helps break down and look into the brain at incredible levels. So basically, by mapping the intricate connections of the human brain and simulating its activity, AI could enable the creation of digital copies of our minds, allowing us to live on in a virtual form long after our biological bodies have succumbed to entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, and ceased to be. So basically, the creation of digital avatars by an artificial intelligence platform that analyzes personal data and correspondence, okay, means that we could live on beyond death in cyberspace. In other words, we could live on in this virtual reality, if you like. And all of this is based on mathematical algorithms, machine learning algorithms that are responsible for this process. Now, there's 2 points. The first is going to be very quick, and the second is going to be a bit long. Firstly, digital immortality is in fact temporal. Even the digital you will eventually succumb to entropy. The AI platform, okay, will eventually succumb to entropy, like all things, and cease to be. So even the digital you is temporal. So digital immortality, in quotes, is actually temporal, because even the AI platform will succumb to entropy. So digital immortality, in quotes. That's my first point. Next, as a philosopher, philosophically speaking, I believe that this is impossible anyway. The mind, the soul, the spirit of man is something that cannot be captured digitally. The mind, the soul, the spirit of man is something that cannot be captured digitally. Perhaps a pseudo version, a bit like a computer game, but not the real thing. The complexity of man, the human brain and mind, goes way beyond scientific explanation. It enters into the realms of theology, metaphysics. Okay, not only that, how can you make an exact copy of someone's brain, an individual's brain? The complexity of the brain is the most complex thing, as I said last time, in the universe. So to make an exact print of someone's brain, as far as I'm concerned, is impossible. But then you have to explain the mind. The brain and mind are separate. How can you make an exact copy of the mind? The mind is not even tangible. The brain and mind are separate. The mind operates through the brain. So the brain and mind are separate. The mind operates through the brain, okay, during our life. Once the brain perishes, ceases to be subject to entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, the mind disconnects from the brain, retaining memory, thought, and personality. So it becomes a separate entity when the brain ceases to be. We're talking about our soul leaving our body. Thus, consciousness is a continuum. It continues beyond death. So when the brain ceases to be, as a result of the second law of thermodynamics, the immutable metaphysical law of the universe, our mind, which was working through the brain during our lives, disconnects and becomes a separate entity. Our soul is basically a nexus of electromagnetic forces. So consciousness is a continuum that continues beyond death, beyond the physical network. Our soul is a nexus of electromagnetic forces that cannot be destroyed because of the first law of thermodynamics. We are immortal, but from a spiritual perspective. So let me mention a few other little bits here now, if I may. So in short, sorry?
Continue.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So basically, what are the implications from what I've just said? That there is more to life than the materialistic world that encapsulates human existence. Okay? There is more to life than the materialistic world that encapsulates human existence. We're now talking about a divine being, the spark behind consciousness and all of reality. God is the ultimate reality. I'm not touching on any religion as such, just pure theology, theistic evolutionism, theistic evolution. What is the ultimate reality? And during my debates, I've done a lot of debates about the existence of God with atheists. They always ask me the question, well, who created God, if you're talking about God? This is actually a non-question philosophically. By definition, God is an eternal being who dwells beyond the sphere of time and space. An infinite being, infinite in both time and space. So you can't ask such a question because by definition, God is eternal. So you can't ask that question. So that's number one. It's an oxymoron. This is known as circular reasoning, and circular reasoning is the fundamental fallacy in logic. We are locked in time. Man is bound by the sphere of time and space. We are locked in this bubble of space and time. We are bound by time. So we cannot comprehend anything that is eternal in nature. It's logical. The mind can't reach that point. The eternality of God transcends science and human understanding. We're talking about a divine being who is timeless and infinite in both time and space. Okay? I'll just mention another few points, if I may. Now, the law of biogenesis states that life can only come from life. Thus, there are two kinds of things that exist necessarily and things that exist contingently. Things that exist necessarily exist by the necessity of their own nature. Thus, it is impossible for them not to exist. We're talking about mathematical objects. The number one, number two, mathematical objects exist in this way. Numbers exist in this way. By contrast, things that are contingent do not exist necessarily, but exist because something has caused them to exist. And then it needs to be explained. Okay? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. By contrast, things that are contingent do not exist necessarily. They only exist because something else has caused them to exist. The universe, mankind, and so on. So if the universe has a cause for its existence, that cause must be a non-physical, immaterial being that dwells eternally beyond the universe, outside the sphere of time and space, this electromagnetic field, 0-point electromagnetic quanta. A universe composed of three independently existing worlds: mathematics, which governs the laws of nature, the material world, okay, and human consciousness. Okay, I'll repeat. A universe composed of three independently existent worlds: mathematics, which governs the behavior of nature, the material world, and human consciousness. God, brought the universe into existence via the laws of evolution, and slowly through evolution, life came into being with this mechanism, God being the eternal source that guides the laws of evolution. Basically, in terms of evolution, we went from physics to chemistry, and then from chemistry to biology. Incidentally, Richard Dawkins and his disciples still can't explain how genetics started. In fact, no one can. If you can't explain how genetics started, you can't really explain evolution, because evolution sits on the pillar of genetics. Evolution sits on the pillar of genetics. Now, natural selection can't get going until you have genetics. The laws of chemistry somehow have to give rise to a self-replicating molecule. That's a logical, it's logical. Once you've got that, then evolution starts. The whole evolutionary process starts. And all life comes into being. But you need to start with genetics. In short, when we're talking about evolution, we went from physics to chemistry, from chemistry to biology. Okay? So when we transition from chemical processes to biological processes, which is a quantum leap, but we still do not understand how this transition occurs, how we went from chemistry to biology. It's a gap within evolution. Even Dawkins' disciples cannot explain this. Surely God was the divine spark behind this transition from chemical process into biological process and then the formation of genetics. Surely God was the divine spark behind this process, that transition from chemical processes to biological processes, which led to the creation of genetics and all life as we know it. I could go on and on and on and on for about 20,000 years, but I'm not going to. We're going to stop here. Just last point. Finally, think about this. What is the universe? The predominant scientific paradigm does not regard the universe as a living system because it's a mechanical universe, not a dynamic, self-organizing universe, which gathers information as it goes along. What are dynamic processes? Dynamic processes are systems with feedback operations, i.e. a fractal, which results in a nonlinear evolution and local unpredictability. Hence, what lies behind the predictable mechanical processes of the universe? A mechanical universe requires a mechanism. God, who is infinite in both time and space, dwells with that beyond the sphere of time and space. Okay, now, my next point. So now we come to artificial intelligence. So the only thing that AI can do for us, given what I've just said, logically speaking, is to help us live longer. We're talking about life extension, longevity, and so forth. So basically, the potential for AI to help us live longer, healthier lives, is undeniable. There's no doubt about that. Immortality, I've already told you, that's connected to the source, the eternal source. We can never live forever, but AI can help us live healthier lives and create life extension. AI, in fact, has revolutionized healthcare, particularly in early disease detection and personalized treatment and drug discovery and so forth. It's ever evolving. So the human body is basically an intricate network of biological processes that understanding how to manipulate these processes to delay aging requires deciphering enormous data sets. And AI can help us do this. And one of the ways, or one of the things with regard to artificial...
Mr. Anthony, just please finish your talk because we have many speakers.
Yeah. Okay, let me make a couple of points. Just 2 points. 2 points. Yeah, 2 points.
No, that's one final comment, please. Final comment. I have to give opportunity.
Okay. So well, basically, one of the incredible avenues that AI has taken us is cellular reprogramming. This is basically cellular reprogramming. This is a technique that involves...
Anthony, thank you. We have to give chance to other speakers. Jose, can you hear me? Jose?
Yes. I am here in a very interesting subject, very important topic with many important people. So I like what Anthony is saying, even though I have several disagreements.
The greatest philosopher on the planet. The greatest philosopher on the planet.
Yes,
we have many philosophers.
Maybe the greatest of all time. But anyway, you can talk. Go ahead.
Anthony, please give other speakers.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Galileo Galilei was a great philosopher plus a scientist, and also even Darwin. Darwin, who talked about evolution. He was a great philosopher as well. Actually, he was called a philosopher of science. So in this topic, I just want to emphasize that there is no question about immortality. I get bored when people talk about immortality. Immortality already exists. Biology discovered. Biology created it. There are many cells that are biologically immortal. There are many organisms that are biologically immortal. So when people talk about immortality, they say, well, this already exists. This is boring. This is a stupid conversation. Immortality already exists. Among cells, we have germinal cells that are biologically immortal and also cancer cells. cancer cells also discover immortality. So cancer cells are immortal, but also we have many organisms that are biologically immortal. We have hydras, we have medusas, we have jellyfish. It is very famous, the case of the immortal jellyfish. So when people say immortality is impossible, I say, what do you mean? It already exists. Biology created it. Biology discovered it. So yes, we are close to immortality. And then to the point of Anthony, if people don't want to be immortal, they can die. There is no problem. This is not forced. People who want to die, they will be able to die. Actually, I am happy to help people who want to die, because the future is for not people who want to die, it's for only immortalist people. So people who want to be immortal, they will be able to be immortal. And people who want to die, they will be able to die. So those who want to die, no problem. You will die. Actually, it will be okay if you die. But people who want to be immortal, also, you will be able to become immortal and not to die. So it's very simple, very mathematical, simple. And again, this is happening in the next 10 years. So I hope people don't want to die. But if you want to die, you are free to die. You are free to die yourself, and don't kill other people with you. So that's anyway my comment. We are close to immortality, and we have two people. The people who want to die, they might die. Actually, it's okay. And the people who don't want to die, who will inherit the planet, because immortalists will inherit this planet, and we are close to immortality. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Didier, you want to add any point for immortality? Okay, I think he...
You said...
Yeah.
No, I don't have so many things to say at the moment. I was just commenting that, of course, Jose is correct that there are already immortal animals at the moment, but there is no immortal animal with a complex neural system. And, it doesn't mean that it will be always the case. And of course, I suppose this meeting is to speak about the possibilities around AI. And I think it is one of the very important questions, how to use AI for longevity. I'm just finishing one article about this for a book for Springer. But okay, not easy. And somebody told me that at the moment we are all speaking about LLMs, and LLMs are not really enough to for big let's say big scientific progress. So I'm still waiting actually to see AI really used for longevity, except for unfolding proteins. But for the rest, I don't have any example. Well, maybe in silico medicine, I don't have big examples of useful AI already, but I'll be happy to hear you about useful AI. That's it.
Thank you. Professor David Smith.
Dr. Sharif, thank you for letting me be part of this spirited discussion on this topic, because it is one that is really important as we go forward. Because, the base question you asked is, how is AI transforming the science, the longevity science? And it's actually doing this in many, many different ways. Rob and I and others have spoken often on your programs about the concepts of digital twins and simulations. This is being applied tremendously in this area. In drug discovery and development, some of the AI tools have really began to revolutionize what we see being done in that industry. Not just the classical pharmaceutical industry, but across all the different areas of that, including regenerative healthcare and others. see a lot of AI being used in looking at biomarkers, at genome analysis, and others. And the machine learning can really shift through massive amounts to find genetic markers of longevity and beginning to look at what are the correct intervention points that they can be applied. You know, we've heard about AI use in personalized medicine, and this is really in its infancy. And there's so much still AI hallucination in this area that we have to be careful, but it's definitely an area that's going to be used in this. You know, I see some other ones that are just so simple here. You know, the AI enhanced smart home, the AI enhanced remote care is really beginning to take off. My wife is a nurse practitioner specializing in geriatrics, and the use of AI has just tremendously gone up there. But you begin to see others, though. You see some of the folks looking around that where some of the comments is that by the year 2030, we're looking at what some people are calling escape velocity for doubling the human lifespan. And we're seeing that. We're seeing some real areas, but there are some possibility biological limits that we're seeing. There's quality of health span versus total lifespan, which are very different. And, you know, just the AI elements in here, because what we're seeing in the next 5 years is very rapid progress in AI-assisted drug discovery, AI-assisted diagnostic, and personalized medicine. And, you know, we're beginning to see in places where we're in a place where AI is going to allow the individual humans to have self-actualization and self-optimization of using the AI tools to enhance their life, to enhance their lifestyle, and eventually their longevity. So, Dr. Shreve, I tried to go fast, but that's a quick one.
Thank you. Mr. Rob.
Well, thanks. Let's talk practicality here. If we're talking absolute immortality, most of projections I've seen suggests we won't achieve that in the next century, and perhaps not in the next two. In fact, most of the stuff says we're 200 years out. And given that predictions that are out over 10 years are highly unreliable, a prediction that's out 2 centuries is even more so. So I think from at least from that aspect of making ourselves immortal, I think we're probably a bit behind the time frame. It's not going to be practical for us. On the other hand, life extension, as David pointed out, is something that is aggressively being researched. Google's Clico and Alto Labs from Jeff Bezos are getting down to fully understanding the underlying biological elements of aging. I think I was reading an article the other day that it indicated that the aging, the aspects of aging are actually communicated through the body, which means they could be slowed if we can figure out the underlying mechanism. With regard to digital immortality, the problem we've got in setting a timeline, I think Kurzweil said 2045 is where he's shooting, but remember that's out over the 5 to 10 year horizon of accurate predictions. So I wouldn't hold to that either. And I should point out that OpenAI's founder thinks we're going to have it in 5 years. It's within the 5 year threshold. So you're saying, okay, that could be more accurate. But again, I think he is more talking about the creation of a twin than the movement of the mind to a digital environment. And the issue is, and I think Anthony pointed this out well, we don't really understand what the mind is. And if you don't understand a thing, you can't move a thing. And so until we understand the underlying concept of the mind and how it works, it's not relegated to the brain alone. We're not going to be able to do that. On the other hand, when it comes to creating a digital twin of someone, something that could act and react and appear to be you to a third party, we are very close to that. We've got deep brain AI, hereafter StoryFile and character AI that are already creating digital twins of dead people. And you can talk to them and they are believable. Hello History and Opedia have apps in place that you can have conversations with people that have passed, and it could work for them. It could certainly work for you. Now, it wouldn't be the you, but think of this: the you were when you were in your below 10 and in your teens and your 20s is not the you are now. You changed over time, and so this could simply be seen as another evolution, another progressive step in your development, where you create a digital twin of yourself, and that digital twin continues as long as the underlying technology is viable. Anthony also pointed out that the universe is going to end at some point, and transcending beyond that point is probably impossible. But who knows? If we live for billions of years, we might be able to figure that problem out as well. But I think that's beyond our relative horizon. Google founder Sebastian Thrun has been a huge voice in terms of speaking about digital mortality. And Google, DeepMind, and University of Colorado Boulder have published research on generative ghosts, which are basically digital twins of us. And so, and I should point out, going back to religion, a church in Lucerne, Switzerland, has Deus in Machina, an AI program trained in theological texts that instead of talking,
did not find anything.
You can talk to their virtual priest. So the idea of creating a digital twin, that's near term, and that might be the best near term path for us, for at least an element of us, to experience some form of digital mortality, something that could appear within our lifetime and be used. And then I'll pass to somebody else because we know we've got a lot of speakers.
Thank you, Madam Ali Rice. Can you unmute, please?
Sorry. Okay. So, in my research that I did, there's a holy trinity of taking care of yourself, and it's sleep, diet, and exercise. And I also think genetics and environment play a massive role as well. So essentially, and for me as well, the environment you're in, the empowerment you have, and the engagement you have in life are all crucial to that spirit of energy. And I know people, some of my friends are in their 90s. And the thing is, they've got the same spirit that I knew them. When I used to work, one of them was the matriarch of camp, and she was in her late 60s when I first met her. So essentially, I think that kind of reason to be and like magic is one of the things that really is indicative of that kind of life force and energy. I've done yoga since I was 14, and it's one of the things that keeps me probably young, but really grounded. And also, I think, is it what you kind of take in, is it what you eat, what you watch, the things that you do either have a positive impact on you or a negative. So I think the thing is that, first of all, we need to tap into our own potential. And that's also kind of mind, body, and spirit. And the three things, actually, going back to what Anthony was talking about, is the mind, body, and spirit is really important to interconnect in everybody. And that kind of worthiness as well. So I think the thing is that society is very good at kind of causing division, and we all have worth, and we all should. And the thing is, the education system also kind of delineates that thing, so that there's people that feel worthy and people that feel like they're not. And there's people that feel like they can, and there's people that feel like they can't. And essentially, I think that's to do with the way that you're nurtured. And it comes from the foundation level of your family as well. And for me as well, because I'm quite a spiritual person and have been on a spiritual quest, since I went to the States when I was only 21. And it's really fascinating that my experiences have been that I have experienced other realms. And I know that in other, tribes, people and things like that they're used to seeing apparitions and spirits. And I saw a ghost for the first time when I was, I think, 12 or 13. And it was in the middle of the day. So the thing is, my daughter's always been spiritually aware. So I think the thing is that I think it's really crazy that we just base things on what we visibly see. And that also science bases everything on what we can tangibly see, when there's so much intangible in the world that impacts us. So for me, I think it's really important that we actually... So the other thing for me as well is one of our huge legacies we have as our children. So, and one of the things that's amazing is that my dad carries on in all of us and our children, and that I can see my dad and my brother, and he sits in the same place in the same house that my dad used to live in. So and I think it's also, I always think that there's a mission, so that there's kind of DNA missions, and and if somebody doesn't complete the mission, then somebody in the journey in their family kind of carries on. So I think the DNA is much more complicated than just markers, and that there's lots of levels of DNA that aren't even connected or even recognized, that I think. So so for me it's really exciting, and I also think you either feel old or you're not, and essentially it's up to you. You can be in denial, and there's a kind of an argument to say that time is a construct, and so a lot of the things that we value are constructs that are made to actually control us. And essentially that there is a freedom of spirit that's really, really important. So for me, that kind of spiritual energy is one of the things that kind of sustains us. And the friends that I was talking about, in fact, a couple of friends a couple that have died as well, they always said they always felt the same as they always had until they looked in the mirror. So I think one of the things about longevity really is about how we look and how our cells, how we age. As I'm sure that there's a thing actually that I've read about, that if cells replenish themselves, and actually having less food and drinking more water kind of enables cells to reproduce naturally themselves. And even this morning I saw that Elle Macpherson was diagnosed with breast cancer 7 years ago, and she chose not to have conventional treatment. And essentially she's used natural remedies to do it. And apparently she's in remission, but she hasn't had. So I think the thing is, I'd always opt to have a natural alternative than have lots of intervention and chemo and, things that are toxic. Because I think the human body's got incredible ability to heal itself. And it's really, Western medicine has pushed us to an extent that we're afraid of not going on, alternate journeys, because we're expected to do what everyone else does. And I don't think that's a good reason to do that. So that's what it does.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Shuti. Yeah. Shuti, do you have any points about this immortality?
This is me?
Yes.
Okay. See, AI is certainly accelerating, started accelerating research, and especially healthcare in last 2 years when we started seeing, like when it came to the mainstream. Since and it is not only went to the research, it is actually helping common people also. And it is going to be play a very important role in the longevity and aging research, especially into area like which is affecting the aging, especially like lots of biomarkers, drug targets, zero protectors, as well as improving the productivity of accuracy of predicting the treatment. It is I would like to focus more on the treatment area. See, I'm currently based into one of a state where I can say that accuracy of diagnostic is almost less than 40 to 50%. Being a healthcare startup, we have recently started implementing AI integrated healthcare services. What we are doing, we are always putting AI as our second opinion tools. And it is helping us to improve the diagnosis by almost more than 40 to 45% above the doctor, or you can say that it is giving the accurate prediction almost 90 to 95%. The recent advances it has that it also started prescribing the medicine, and for the same treatment, for the same diagnosis, AI-based applications are providing almost 40 to 50% much more medications than the doctors. And we are doing it in really into the live examples with many of the patient as a sample for our startup. Since it is working on the especially into the predicting the medicines, about the diagnosis, and about the real biomarkers, AI is actually going to play a very important role in the longevity research.
Thank you. YK.
Hello. I'm YKY. I'm an AI researcher from Hong Kong, and my outlook for immortality is much more optimistic than some of you guys. But I would rather focus on the. I mean, I have great faith in AI, but I think the government may be limiting the potential of AI. So that may be the bottleneck of the development of life extension technologies and things like that. So I would rather think that governments are the impediment to our progress in the near future. And one thing I would like to see happen is for governments to push forward the technical developments of health and life extension technologies. For example, it could be quite Keynesian in the sense that the government is helping the economy to develop further. So we are now facing the crisis of mass unemployment, where we haven't seen it happening, but most people would predict that it is coming. But for unknown reasons, we don't see it now. But we have a sense that it may be coming. So if we want to solve the problem of unemployment, we have to create jobs at the other end of the spectrum. So the lower end jobs would be disappearing fast. So we have to equally create many jobs at the high end of technologies. And these obviously include healthcare, but maybe other kind of domains. And in order to create so many jobs, we need the visions to be very grandiose. So it's not just incremental like projects, like small projects. How to improve the services of call centers by 10%? That's too small scale and trivial. And we need the governments to to initiate very extremely big projects. And that's what I want to see happen. But we also need to address the problems of other Keynesian policies in general, which, for example, it may be unfair. It creates maybe collusion between some companies and things like that. But so we also want to keep the competition to be fair, which is a big problem in such government policies. But I think that it is worth considering this option. So that's one of my points for this discussion. So I hope to hear your feedback on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony, my next question for you, and you will get 3 minutes for that. What ethical consideration arise when extending human life identified through a AI-driven biomedical innovation? Here is the question.
Sorry, you have to repeat that. I can't hear what you're saying.
Sorry, the volume is rather low. For the
It's
whole,
very, very low.
Yeah, I
The
don't.
question is on the screen. You can read it.
Okay, well, the potential for AI to help us live longer, healthier lives is undeniable. As I was mentioning before, when I was giving you my initial monologue, revolutionized healthcare, particularly in early disease detection. Okay, so personal treatment and drug discovery and so forth. So basically, the human body is an intricate network of biological processes, and understanding how to manipulate these processes to delay aging requires deciphering enormous data sets, which is what I was trying to say before when I gave you my initial genius philosophical scientific breakdown. Now, one of the most exciting prospects of AI in life extension research is the ability to enable personalized medicine. Okay, so now before I was talking about science, philosophy, and my genius philosophical mind went beyond space and time. Now I'm coming down to the basic things of artificial intelligence and everyday life. So AI can analyze individuals' genetic makeup, okay, medical history, and so forth, life choices, and through that you can create a personalized aging plan. So before I gave you science, philosophy, and one of the greatest philosophers the world has ever seen, there's no doubt about that. Now I'm going to just give you just the basic breakdown of artificial intelligence and so forth. So basically, AI and cellular rejuvenation. AI and cellular rejuvenation. At the cellular level, aging is characterized by a decline in the function of cells and tissues. So we're going back to the second law of thermodynamics, the immutable metaphysical law of the universe. Everything over time ultimately decays. Nothing can stand against the force of time. Regardless of what the others have said, nothing can stand against the force of time. God is the elixir of life. To know him is to be eternal. He is eternal and dwells beyond the sphere of time and space in eternality. He dwells beyond this electromagnetic field, the 0 point electromagnetic quanta, and so forth. So AI basically is playing a crucial role in understanding, potentially reversing this process in terms of aging. One of the research areas that they're focusing on is sentient cells, which are cells that basically have stopped dividing and contribute to aging and other diseases that come with aging and entropy and so forth. So basically, AI can help identify compounds that selectively eliminate these cells. So we are progressing in an incredible way within artificial intelligence in terms of longevity, in terms of promoting health within a human being, longevity, but not immortality. That's impossible, as I have already described through my scientific and philosophical genius monologue. Another promising avenue is the use of AI study in terms of cellular reprogramming. This technique involves resetting cells to a more youthful state, actively reversing the aging process, which is phenomenal at a cellular level. AI can analyze these complex signal pathways involved in cellular reprogramming, identifying key factors that can be manipulated to achieve rejuvenation. In fact, I wrote a story in my first book. I'm a philosopher and a science fiction writer. My first story, Molecular Alteration, was all to do with this what I'm discussing here, molecular alteration. Jack Webster dreams of rejuvenation, the closest thing to immortality, the greatest quest that man has longed for from the dawn of man, and so forth. Now, sorry, you still there? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah. Now, another one is the integration of AI with the human body. The integration of AI with the human body. In the future, and this is now being a science fiction author, I'm sort of tossing this into the future. In the integration of AI with the human body, in the future, we could have AI-powered nanobots patrol our bloodstream, repairing cellular damage in real time, preventing the onset of age-related diseases. Okay? So we're talking about nanobots. We're talking about the future. These microscopic machines could continuously monitor our health, making adjustments to our biology as needed to maintain optimum biological function and so forth. Okay, so now I'm coming from a more practical level. And then there's regenerative medicine, how medicine is evolving in such a way that basically we can replace damaged tissues and organs, and AI is making significant contributions within this field. Basically, AI can assist in the development of regenerative therapies that can restore function to organs, effectively reversing the aging process. So we are seeing some incredible, tremendous advancements within this particular domain. So, for instance, AI can be used to design biomaterials that promote tissue regeneration to optimize the conditions for growing replacement organs in the lab. So it's almost a Frankenstein sort of scenario here. Okay?
Thank you. Madam Ali Rice? Ali?
The other thing, Anthony, that you didn't mention is the stem cells and their kind of, so essentially, I think that the thing is, I don't really understand all the science, but I know I've got an elderly dog that I'm really bonded with. She almost died in probably, I think it was February or March, and she was treated with that anyway. But essentially, there is supposedly stem cell treatment that you can get that brings their a senior dog back to kind of the same vitality that they used to have. Anyway, so I think the thing is, I just think the science is amazing, but I still think it needs to marry with kind of health and well-being, and the fact, that food is either poison or medicine. So, and the body is a temple. So I do really, truly believe that what you eat, what you choose to do, how fit and how much exercise you do impacts the way you live. And if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So essentially, so I do think it's, it's about lifestyle choices. It's about kind of setting, being role models. So your children, definitely in the UK, I know that in this generation, there's a lot of obese children that are likely to die before their parents. And essentially, God forbid, that's kind of the most nightmarish situation I can imagine, to lose a child. So essentially, and I think Malaysia as well. I think Malaysia is one of the countries that is really majorly affected by obesity too. And essentially, that's because they've followed suit and they've become westernized, and they don't eat the same food that had nutritional value. So I think the first food industry has a lot to answer for. And I think coming back to governments, that government should restrict what goes into things, so that what we eat is natural and beneficial. There's a garage down the road, and I've never seen so much junk in my life as there is in that. And it's sure sugar and just chemicals and horrendous stuff. So I think the thing is, it is really important that we make conscious decisions. And I also think kind of I know it sounds really glib, but I think being connected to nature is really, really important. And that's fundamentally something that I've never lost, my connection to nature. And it's really important if you stay in cities. It's obviously really easy to lose that connection with nature if you're in a city. So essentially, I've always lived in a rural area, and my children have grown up in an area where they're surrounded by trees and countryside. So that kind of connection to nature is really important. And actually, like the biodiversity of where you live and the health of the air and the water, and is all kind of all has impact on the way that our lives run, and in our communities as well. So it's really important. And I also think I think there's also in the West there's something that's happened. So we've lost a lot of respect for our elders. And I think the thing is that our elders really have a lot of wisdom to share. And for me, it's really important. So my mum is incredible. And her, she's always been there she's always been in education, but she's always valued nurturing young people so they can fulfill their potential. So essentially, I think the other thing is kind of reframing aging and the elderly, because I think the thing that actually lets elderly down is when their health is gone, and I think health is our real wealth, really. So kind of if you can monitor your health and pick up things early so you prevent things happening, it's much better than trying to deal with something that's actually that's actually within your body. So and there's also disease is the fact that you're that you're ill at ease with yourself and your environment. So essentially, I think that stress and psychological impact of what's happening in your life also has a toll on what happens.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, my next question for you. Could AI help achieve not just longer life, but healthier and more meaningful aging?
Yeah, a number of ways. We certainly have talked a bit about agentic AI over time and the idea of having an agent that can act in your stead. But part of agentic AI is provide guidance and help. Basically provide you with a digital personal trainer that could help you with diet, could help you with exercise, could also help you identify things that could extend your life and make you healthier longer. YKY mentioned something that I agree with in terms of government, and one of the issues we've got to deal with when we talk about extending life is the age of retirement and what to do with a bunch of people that now are living 2 or maybe even 3 times their normal life expectancy. I mean, right now retirement is typically set 60, 65, depending on where you live. But if we were to extend life expectancy by a multiple, I think the average life expectancy for a male here in the United States is about 78. But if we were to double that, then shouldn't the retirement age also be significantly increased? But who's going to vote for that? So one of the reasons I think government is not all that excited about extending life is it creates a long-term problem for them. They have to solve what to do with all these now increasing number of retired people. At the same time, birth rates are declining. And so the number of people that are around to support the folks that are retired isn't sufficient, and increasingly not so. So the one of the bottlenecks, we're going to correct the bottleneck and really get everybody focused on extending life. We do have to address some of the economic difficulties surrounding what we're going to do with a lot of relatively healthy but non-working people that aren't contributing. And of course, we overlay that with the concerns about AI taking jobs altogether, and you get a sense that, well, we're either going to have a future that's very Mad Max life, or we're going to have one that's maybe a bit more utopian, a bit more like the ending of the guy that traveled through time. What the hell was the name of the movie? The time traveler movie, where you've got basically really healthy people that don't do any work and just float around and don't evolve, which could be problematic. So in the end, we've got to solve some of these overall socioeconomic problems as we extend life. Now, as we talk about extending the life, we've got a lot of companies that are working on it. General Electric, of course, is with GE Medicine has been creating digital twins of organs that, if it was tied back to your agent, could be able to tell you what's going wrong with your body and what you could do in terms of consumption, exercise, and other behaviors that could extend the life of your organs, of your body. Shreve just put up nanotechnology. I was reading the other day that we've now got at least prototypes of nanorobots that could go in and do vascular repair and maybe do other things we typically require invasive surgery. Again, extending your life, and certainly there are tests of cancer vaccines that are being trials that are in place in Europe, and cancer is one of the leading causes of death. And so we're going to get rid of some of the causes. We again can extend our mortal lives. And I think Ali's comment about not putting poisons in your body. I was in a lecture a few years back talking about how chemotherapy was developed, and it's an interesting story. I won't recount it because we don't have a lot of time here. But other than the fact that the doctor that developed it risked his career and his life to create what was a mechanism of multiple poisons being injected into the body to extend its life, and it worked. If it hadn't worked, he would have probably gotten the death penalty because he would have killed an awful lot of patients in the process. So an incredible risk, personal risk, that was done. And then we had stories of doctors that with regard to ulcer research, because he was convinced that ulcers were not resulting from stress, but was resulting from a biological source. Ingested that biological source, created the ulcer in himself, again showcase how that was created. So some of the folks out there that historically have put their lives on the line to extend our own lives are hardly recognized. I was actually reading another story of a guy that received a fatal dose of venom, of snake venom, but instead of taking the antivenom because he was convinced he would survive it, he sadly was wrong. He actually documented the entire experience, making it more likely that other people would survive the venom. So we've had heroes that we often don't talk about, and today we've got companies that are doing incredible work to extend our lives. But as I think to YKY's point, a lot of that stuff isn't being widely circulated or adopted because of the economic problem of what happens if you start significantly extending human life. So addressing that economic problem, I think, may be one of the main gore points that we have to deal with in order to get everybody focused on extending life and therefore allowing us to live as long as we could live. And I'll pass to David.
Thank you. Mr. David, my next question for you. Could AI help achieve not just longer life, but healthier and more meaningful aging? And I think already Mr. Rob answered this question. What role will genetic engineering, nanotechnology, and AI coverage to play in reversing aging process?
Well, genetic engineering, we've already seen some. Make sure I'm wrong. Hang on. Genetic engineering, we've already seen some dynamic results going forward because we're seeing it begin to play a revolutionary role in trying to target the fundamental biological mechanisms. And sorry, it's those fundamental mechanisms that are one of the keys to helping us do the root cause of aging as we go forward, not just regenerative healthcare and others like that, but going in there. So AI provides powerful predictive and analytic capabilities to really help us understand the extremely complex biological pathways which are underlying aging. It accelerates our research by, in a very short period of time, analyzing massive data sets. That in the past, particularly as you look at the genetic side, looking through the RNA extensions and others, just have taken years, can be done in a day in many of these instances. We see AI really being used to both accelerate drug discovery, protein design, and gene editing, but also being used as a tool to model this, to look at what ifs, to do multiple scenarios going through it, and without endangering humans because of the use of digital twins, and how that can be used in this instances. Gene editing like CRISPR and others are advancing so far. We see some recent announcements of using it to switch off genes that drive aging, as to switch off genes that trigger some of the mental diseases associated with older aging. And we're seeing others where we can reprogram and even reverse cellular aging today, which are all enabled by genetic engineering. Now, nanotechnology is very interesting to me because as Rob went back to one of the movies, I go back to one of the movies where you had the submarine miniaturized and going directly into the blood cell. Because what nanotechnology allows you to do is precise interventions at the molecular level, at the cellular level. And this is where we're seeing these nanobots designed to repair damage directly in tissues, to be able to target delivery of gene editing complex or molecules exactly where they're needed, versus our approach today, where we inject most of them in the body and let them find where they're needed. And we're also seeing this type of nanotechnology not just used actively, but we're seeing nanotechnology-based sensors and devices where they can continuously sense, monitor, and provide feedback. And so to kind of, because you have so many people, should wrap this one up. We see that AI analyzes the biological data and designs optimize gene editing strategies and nanotechnology interventions of all different times. And even these nanotechnology provides additional feedback into the AI to enhance what's going on and to enhance the genetic engineering, because this type of feedback enabled by the nanotechnology and the AI will let us modify and reprogram cellular functions, which can help lead to life extension in there. So you see a lot of those, and hopefully some of this will be allow us by advances in AI and computation, particularly biological computing, to fast track the discovery of anti-aging compounds and really enable the ability to do age reversal, which is, I believe, the nearer term outcome before we get to the immortality, which I agree with Rob is probably a couple of centuries away. So, Dr. Sharif, I hope that's a quick answer.
Thank you. Mr. Didier, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I had nothing to say. So
Okay.
I'm
Thank you.
listening.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shudit, can AI simulate or model human consciousness to preserve identity beyond biological limitations? What's your thought? Can you unmute, please?
Yes, I think this is one of the area where AI is going to play a very important role, especially to preserving the consciousness. And it will not, actually the way it is happening, that it will, it is certainly going to help in it. But I'm not much more focused on this area of research. But yes, this is certainly going to help.
Thank you. Mr. YK, what policies and regulations are needed to ensure equitable access to AI-driven longevity technology?
What regulations? So I guess the government should start the. I have not thought about this in much detail, but I guess if the government starts something like a big initiative, they have to kind of like borrow the money from the future, like figure out how that would be used to fund current projects. And this is a difficult economic problem. I guess some instrument they can use is like patents and things like that. So you invent something in the future, and you can make sure that you get some reward. That the reward is can be expected. But the government also set the rules for the economy, so I guess there may be some innovations that can so they can even change the rules to make it more probable to happen, the technologies, to facilitate the technologies. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony, 1 minute for you, like everyone, 1 minute, just closing remarks for today's session.
Closing remarks. Well, I mean, I've touched on so many different aspects of philosophy, science, and so forth, and then looked at the practical dimensions of what artificial intelligence can bring us in terms of human longevity and life extension and so forth. And I've spoken about so many different things, but ultimately, it all comes down to one thing. Everything at the end of the day is subject to entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, the immutable metaphysical law of the universe. The most important thing to understand is AI can do so much for us in terms of life extension and so forth. But when we're talking about immortality, we're talking about God, the eternal source that transcends time and space, that is infinite in both time and space. Space and time is an electromagnetic field, 0-point electromagnetic quanta. God holds the sphere of time and space in his hand, and he can see the past, present, and future in an instant. Our journey here is, in terms, when we compare it to eternity, is non-existent. In fact, the journey of life is like a grain of sand tossed into the ocean of time, swinging between a pendulum of life and death with an inevitable end. All that matters at the end of the day is morality and ethics and where we stand with God. He is the eternal source that brought all life into existence through the laws of evolution and so forth. He controls all the mechanisms of life, quantum mechanics, the laws of thermodynamics, the laws of biogenesis, and so forth. All of reality and everything, science, philosophy, all things are encapsulated within God's hand. He controls all the mechanisms of life, starting at evolution and so forth. Whether we want to go into quantum mechanics and consciousness. Consciousness is the continual creation of models, feedback loops which describe a model of our place in space and time. Consciousness can only be described ultimately when we connect it to the eternal source. He is the elixir of life that brought all things into existence. Science and technology can do so much for us, but only to a certain point. But God is ultimately the ultimate reality, and to know him is to know all of reality. We will perish. All things perish. Second law of thermodynamics, entropy. The immutable metaphysical law of the universe. All things perish. Biological, non-biological, and so forth. Everything ultimately ends. But he is the eternal source that governs the behavior of energy, quantum mechanics, and so forth. To know him is to know all of reality. At the end of the day, all that matters is him. To stand before him and to live a life of ethics and morality. God is the ultimate reality. That's it.
Thank you. Ali Rice, what's your closing remarks?
Yeah, on the back of what Anthony said, I think one of the things that doesn't die is the spirit and the energy and love as well. So essentially, I think the thing is that the way we lead our lives and the way we impact others makes a massive difference. So essentially, so all those choices, and I always go back to the ethics and the morality of things as well, because it matters. And essentially, AI still needs to be a tool, because we don't want to eradicate the human, the human consciousness or the human ability to impact the world. It needs to enhance our experience of life and enhance, the natural world, because we don't want to live a life where we've wiped out all the other species. So essentially, I think the spirit and the energy is really important too. And that's, that's kind of self-determined. That's the way our perspective on life and the way we see life as a gift. So yeah, really important.
Thank you. Mr. Rock, what's your closing remarks?
Sure. And talking about the things that we can affect, looking at the countries that do the best with regard to life extension, they have 4 things in common: a robust healthcare system, healthy lifestyles, strong public health policies, and a high standard of living. In ranked order, they're Monaco, Japan, San Marino, Hong Kong, Switzerland, Singapore, and South Korea. These are the countries that have the longest life expectancy, and due to those reasons that I just listed. I often think we should be looking at other countries, not in terms of economic performance, but in terms of happiness and longevity, and then making our life choices associated with what we value. And if we want to live a long time, then perhaps we all should be living in different places, because I don't think any of us live in any of those places. And so that does certainly suggest that one of the first things we need to address if we want to improve longevity is education focus. If we know more about how to keep ourselves healthy, then we're going to do a better job doing that. And those are my final comments. Passing to David.
Thank you. Mr. David, what's your closing remarks for today?
Well, I agree with many of what's been said, because AI is already transforming how we understand aging, how we discover new therapies, personalized healthcare. And it's bringing us closer to healthier and hopefully longer and more meaningful lives. Yet, I personally believe it's very vital to remain grounded in realism. While we dream of immortality inspires really bold visions, we must acknowledge that really there's a profound biological, science, ethical, societal challenges that remain. And progress is not going to come real rapidly. It requires not only rigorous research and science, but also regulations and really inclusive debates about things like what is the quality of life will be. And as Rob queued up, how does that change retirement? How does that change jobs? Already today, if we look at the average person, they go through over 10 career changes during their lives. As we look at life extension, does that become 20? Does it become 30 or more? So really, it's how we do this collectively. And how do we balance innovation and shape a future where the benefits of AI-driven longevity are shared? So, the real question I think here is, how do we want to experience aging? And will we see the declines that we see today? What values should guide this pursuit? And can we harness it not to merely add years to life, but I think the fundamentally question is, can we use all of these things to help us add life to our years, to our extended years, and create a more richer, balanced future life than just adding years? So thank you, Dr. Sri.
Thank you, Mr. Shudip.
See, AI is already getting used to analyze various data sets, especially related to immortality, longevity, and aging research. So it is actually going to help a lot, especially into targeting various research, the genetic markers, geroprotector markers, and it is going to play a very crucial role into immortality and making the life meaningful.
Thank you. Mr. YK, what's your contribution?
Yeah, I want to add something in response to Anthony's point that everything is perishes, and but if we look at one end of the phenomenon, we see that everything perishes, but on the other hand, things are being created continually. So, you if you focus on the decline of things, you get pessimistic, but you can also focus on things being created seemingly out of nothing, but it's out of the current environment that we see things are being created. So that may make us more optimistic. And the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to life exactly, because life is not a closed system. So we have the sun giving us energy. That's not going to end. Well, that's also may end sometime, but we'll see to that. But yeah, I used to get pessimistic because of the second law, but after a long time of thinking, I don't think it's the end of the question. I mean, it's still open. And I want to add one thing to close this, is that I see much more hope in the near future that we can use organ replacement to, replace our bodies. So, I mean, if some of our organs gets old, the simplest thing is just to replace it with a new copy. And that may make us younger, like the real young people. And so what do you think is the first organ that can be replaced by technology? Anyone have a guess? It's an organ that's easily replaced. I mean, it looks like it's easiest to replace, but it's usually we don't call it an organ, but it's easier.
Human brain. Human brain.
No, brain is the last one. It's the most difficult, I think. But the easiest one is, I guess, blood. Blood is an organ, but it's also a liquid. It's kind of has no structure. And if we just analyze its ingredients, we may be able to get some new blood in ourselves. And with that, I wish you all of you good luck. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I request all of our audience, please share our content and share with the government agency, corporation, and academia. Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Thank you, Ali Rice. Thank you, Mr. Rob, Mr. Sujit, YK, and David Smith. Thank you. Bye-bye and take care.
Take care.
Thank you.